What's up YouTube, it's Saiyan here coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. It's been a long time since I had a Magic video done. It is purely because I have been focusing on PlayStation Vita, physical releases, Dragon Ball CCG card game videos, and I've been doing some Hungarian videos as well. So I do apologize for those guys who are primarily subscribed to see Magic content. There's gonna be more on the way, all I can say. But today's topic is a commander deck that has been, well, actually, it's been done. I pretty much have finished the deck a few months ago because I have been away on holiday back in Hungary to put the deck into the test with some really good friends who we play Magic the Gathering with. And I didn't want to spoil this deck beforehand because obviously, competitive advantage and all that stuff. So let's jump into this deck, which is a Yuriko the Tiger's Shadow build. Now the reason why I chose Yuriko in the first place, before we go into the 99 cards behind her, is the fact that obviously you guys have seen that I'm pretty keen on the ninja archetype. In Magic, I think they are really cool creatures in the game, and since the release of Yuriko, it became a really viable deck in my opinion. And I must say I do love black and blue decks in general, because they can do pretty much everything that other colors can as well. So, with the combination of these two, you can do pretty much everything. There's a couple of things, obviously, that they're not very good at, but particularly black, if you pay the price, you can get pretty much anything you want in that color. So I always did like that. So what Yuriko does, obviously, it's a 1/3 for a 1, a blue, and a black, but it has, very importantly, Commander Ninjutsu. So if you have an attacking creature that is not blocked, you can pay a blue and a black, and you can swap Yuriko with that creature from your command zone or from your hand. So the commander taxing just really doesn't matter for Yuriko at all, which is already a good starting point. On top of that, whenever any of your ninjas deal combat damage to an opponent, any player, you flip the top card of your deck, and it does X amount of damage to all the opponents, where X is the converted mana cost of that card that you flipped, and you get to keep that card as well, so you can put it into your hand. How sweet is that? All we need to do is get some cheap creatures down that are unblockable to be able to swap Yuriko in for Commander Ninjutsu, and we can deal tons of damage to all our opponents, obviously clearly putting a bullseye on our forehead. But because the deck can be quite quick, you might just get away with it. And if not, you can always draw on politics, especially if you have the upper hand in the game. So it's a pretty fun little commander. I have built it from scratch. I haven't used any website, although we did look at I think it's the Command Zone's website or something like that, what they would recommend for this particular deck. And actually there were a lot of similarities. But when I did build this deck, I spent about, and I'm not kidding you guys, at least 7 or 8 hours just sitting there on the laptop with a pen and paper and just writing cards that I wanted to go in this deck. So I think I truly embraced the deck building part of a commander deck, and it was great fun. I recommend it to everybody. So really cool commander in my opinion. You can't tax it. It deals damage to all the opponents. All you gotta do is swap it in with the commander ninjutsu ability, and then have some cards out that will grant her the ability to be unblockable for the rest of its existence in game. So we start out with Yuriko, and we'll have a look at the remaining deck cards. So let's start with the ninjas. Obviously, being a ninja archetype, I'm running all the ninjas. There's a few cards that are proxied in. I just didn't have the funds to to get some of the niggly cards, you know, like the 5-10 pound cards. I just didn't have the funds to get, so these will be replaced because I really enjoy playing with the deck, and slowly I'm gonna rebuild it. So we got Skull Snatcher here. You can ninjutsu him down for 1. Obviously, aura ninjas can be played cheaper if you have an attacking creature that is unblocked and deals damage to your opponent. And of course, whenever Skull Snatcher deals combat damage, you can remove up to 2 target cards from a target player's graveyard. So this can be quite versatile against decks that rely on their graveyard. We got Mistblade Shinobi. You can also play it down for 1 with a ninjutsu ability, and this allows you to bounce a creature back to its owner's hand. Then we got Walker of the Secret Ways. Slightly more expensive. We're obviously going with cumulative mana cost rising for these cards. This card, she allows you to look into your opponent's hand, and also you can, with sorcery speed, you can make ninjas unblockable. You can bring a ninja back to your hand with a during your turn, not sorcery ability. I'm sorry about that. But for 2, you can return a ninja to your hand. In case you can't make him unblockable, but you do have a creature that they can swap with, then you can just carry on replaying that little combo that you play a creature, wait for it to get haste in your next turn, then you use the ninja, whichever you want, then you pick it back into your hands, and then you can replay that creature again if you have the right amount of mana. The all-star favorite, Ninja of the Deep Powers, for card draw. Sakashima Student to copy anything we want. Okibogang Shinobi to discard cards. Higure, one of my favorite ones, to search for ninjas and also make any ninja unblockable, which is really cool. Throat Slitter, definitely the MVP of my game so far. Just being able to destroy target non-black creature every turn has been extremely good. So Throat Slitter is definitely MVP. We got Ink Eyes here. It is a pre-release copy as well. You can regenerate Ink Eyes, and you can also basically steal, you can bring back a creature from the graveyard, which is also pretty good. I think she's been the number 2 MVP from the ninjas, obviously discounting Yuriko, but yeah, definitely Throat Slitter, Ink Eyes, they've been on heavy duty. And then we got Silent Blade Oni, definitely the most expensive one, but also really, really good. Just pick any card out from your opponent's hand and play it. Amazingly good. So we kind of like have this toolbox type of setup, as you can see, guys. Depending what ninja we want, particularly if we have Figure, we can search for any of them. We can use them as and when we see fit. Definitely one of the benefits of running these ninjas. They all do different things. Okay, so let's look at the enabling creatures. We have Vampire Cutthroat, Skulk, and Lifelink. Starting with the 1-drops, we got Guddle Lurker, can't be blocked. You can Megamorph it, you're probably not going to. Again, you're just looking for the unblockability. One of my favorite ones, Slither Blade, 1/2 for 1 blue, can't be blocked. Triton Shorestalker, again, can't be blocked. And these are the 1-drops, and now we're going to move on to the guys that you can play with haste. So we got Gurmax Swiftwing, Flying First Strike Haste for 2 mana, pretty good. Reckless Imp, you can dash it out. Again, it's another flyer, it can't block, you don't care about that. All you want is dash it in. It has haste, and it can immediately bring out a ninja. Nether Trader, again, haste, also shadow, so very difficult to block. Only shadow creatures can block it. And you can also bring it back from your graveyard. So pretty sweet little card. Nether Shadow, the original Nether Trader, I suppose, a haste 1/1 for 2. And again, a really good one here, Dimir Infiltrator. Not only is he unblockable, you can also transmute him, which means you pay the transmute cost, which is 1, a blue, and a black, and you can search your deck for any card that has a converting mana cost of 2. Pretty cool to have a card like this. Definitely does multi-duty. I haven't drawn into this card yet, unfortunately, but it's definitely a very versatile card in the deck, and we love it. Also, of course, Invisible Stalker, hexproof, can't be blocked. Here's a guy that I'm not quite sure about. I haven't really drawn into him yet. The Menace ability is good, and every second turn, it gets you a card draw for a life, which is not too bad. But I think this is one of the cards that might not make the cut going forward. There's a few more cards I'm going to show you in the end, so I'm going to put him on the side. Of course, we got Snapcaster Mage, because Snapcaster Mage, particularly if you play it, you flashback something, then if you're lucky enough to attack in with him, you can return him to your hand with a ninja. Quickling, another flyer, flash as well, maybe an unexpected blocker, and also it allows us to pick a ninja back into our hand if we want to. Baleful Strix, sorry, Flying Death Touch is always good to have a Death Touch creature in the deck, and again, it's a good card, it replaces itself. And of course we have Clever Impersonator, just to have another copy of Sakashima Student. Basically we can copy anything we want. Another really good card, by the way. I really enjoyed playing this guy when he came up. Okay, so we've got our enabler cards with haste and unblockable and flying and all that, but obviously we only have a few mechanics that allow us to pick ninjas back into our hands. So what we want to do, we also want to have some cards that allow us just to keep them permanently unblockable. And I think one of the best ones, and obviously very much on flavor, is Tetsuko Umezawa, Fugitive. You play for 2, and all your creatures with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Now, I must point out that Yuriko is a 1/3, so Yuriko is immediately unblockable if Tetsuko is down, but we also have quite a few other ninjas that also benefit from this effect. Namely, we have these 3 guys, the lower cost ones, and they can be, because they're the cheapest to play, if we get Tetsuko down and we can bring them into play, immediately we can start to flip 2, 3, maybe 4 cards with Yuriko when she deals damage to your opponent. But definitely the best one is Cover of Darkness. You just name ninja creature type and they get fear, which means they can't be blocked except by black and or artifact creatures. This was useful 3 out of 4 games, so very, very good. A couple of auras. We have Rate of Presage, which just makes a creature with power 2 or less unblockable. And we got Ether Tunnel, again, same effect. Unblockable, and also gives them +1/+0. Then we have Traveler's Cloak, which replaces itself, draws a card, and you get Land Walk of your choosing. Again, is basically unblockable. You just have to pick a land your opponent has. And Aqueous Form, of course, probably one of the best ones, because I do love that Scry ability on top of making my creature unblockable. And we do have a couple of instants and sorceries as well. We have Distortion Strike, we have Artful Dodge, Veil of Secrecy, and Slip Through Space. The only instant is Veil of Secrecy. Obviously that can be a good surprise, not that we really want to use that particular speed, because we just want to ensure that they're unblockable, and they all do kind of different things. This gives the creature +1/+0. You also can rebound it, so you cast it for free in your next turn. So this basically gives you 2 copies. Artful Dodge has flashback, again very similar to that, but you have to pay an additional 1. Slip Through Space replaces itself because you draw a card, but be careful that it's devoid. It does not have a color, so you can't pitch it for Force of Will. Veil of Secrecy makes them unblockable, and can't be, and also gives them hexproof basically, which is really cool. Okay, so this is the package to make our guys stick around and be able to deal loads of damage. Moving on, let's look at the cantrips, which allows us to manipulate the top of our deck, because of course we kind of want to know what's the top card of our deck, if not a couple of, if not even digging down a few cards, that is the best. So we can always manipulate and know how much damage we are going to deal with Yuriko's special ability. So we got Ponder here. I don't think it needs any explanation. We got Brainstorm, obviously an MVP for this particular deck. Serum Visions, we also have Portent, which is definitely not as good as the rest, but it still comes down for 1. We got Preordain. I was trying to remember pretty much all the cantrips that allows you to scry or do some sort of top deck manipulation. So we also have Telling Time here. I went deep, I even got Dream Cache. And these are pretty much the low cost to fairly low cost cantrips. But we also got Mission Briefing. That surveillability is pretty good, and giving one of our stuff replayability from the graveyard is absolutely amazing, so I love Mission Briefing. Cruel Tutor is just perfect for this deck because it allows us to search for anything. We don't take it into our hand, we put it on the top of our deck, which is even better for this deck. You can search for those high cost cards that I'm going to get to in a minute, and you can put them on the top of your deck. You're guaranteed to deal high levels of damage, high amounts of damage with Yuriko. And just to stay on theme, we got Umezawa's Jite, because of course it's Umezawa's Jite, and we also have a Sensei's Divining Top. Now, I've heard some comments that Sensei's Divining Top is apparently banned. Well, I went onto MTG's website, and it says that it's legal in Commander, so you know, if Wizards of the Coast tells me it's legal, surely it's legal. And then just rounding up the artifacts, of course, we run a Soul Ring because this is Commander. We have a Dimmer Signet, and we also have a Commander Sphere as a staple. But this is it for our Mana Rocks. This is it for our artifacts and some of our cantrips and sort of cheap cards just to help us with manipulating the top of that deck. And now looking at the defensive cards and also the big payoffs. So cards that cost a lot of money, not money, what am I talking about? Cards that have a high mana cost, money. But also, what I was trying to focus at this stage is to have cards that, yes, they do cost a lot of mana, not money, mana, but you have alternate costs to play them. So these cards are, of course, Force of Will. Now, obviously, again, it's not one of those cards that I definitely want to cough up money for, so I got the World Championship copy. For casual play, guys, you play with what you got, so this gets the job done. Costs you 5 to play, but you can pitch a blue card, pay 1 life, counter target spell. Really cool. Sinister Sabotage, it only costs 3, but it allows you to surveil 1, and I just love the artwork, so it needed to go into that deck. Misdirection, not a fully pledged counter spell, but I did find a good use for it. Again, exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the mana cost. Change the target of target spell with a single target. I did use this card, it was very fun. My opponent was surprised. And for our final counter spell, Cryptic Command, of course, this card, again, just really good, does so many things. We can counter, we can draw a card, we can tap all creatures, we can return target permanent to its owner's hand. Just really, really versatile. Devastation Tide, just return all online permanents to their owner's hand. Our only sweeper, unfortunately, and I'm definitely going to change that. I'm going to include at least a Damnation or something like that, because when I talk about the games I had at the end of the video, we definitely need more bounce effects. But you can play for the miracle cost, and because we can manipulate the top of our deck, Devastation Tide will most likely come down for its miracle cost when we need it. Beacon of Unrest costs us 5. Put target artifact or creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and shuffle this back into your deck. So not only is it recurring, it also allows us to take, if we lose any of our particularly good ninjas, we can get them back for 5. Rite of Undoing, another bounce spell. We can delve it, so it's not actually going to cost us 5. We're probably going to pay less than that. We can return a non-land permanent we control and target non-land permanent our opponent controls to their hand. we can return a ninja to make it unblockable again, or we can reuse a Snapcaster Mage or something like that, and we can also get rid of a pesky card that we can't deal with any other way. Murderous Cut goes without any explanation. Destroy target creature for 5, but you can delve it. Besiege the Queen. Now this card is interesting. It's another tutor, but actually its actual converted mana cost is 6 because you need to take into account the mana cost that is on the top. So it costs you 2, 2, 2. That's 6. That's the converting mana cost of this card. Treasure Cruise. Again, high mana cost card, but we can delve into it and we can draw 3 cards. It's really good. Dig Through Time, same. Animatu's Augury. I played this once. Exile the top 8 cards. It's very hit and miss. You're not going to be able to dig that deep to manipulate all those cards, but it is a high cost card. Again, this is something I need to reevaluate if it's worthwhile running it or not. It's kind of like a win more card. I don't really think it's the best in this particular deck. Skullstorm costs us 9. When you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone this game. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Each opponent who can't loses half their life. This is a very situational card, but I do like it very much, particularly against decks that are pretty removal heavy and they just don't want me to have Yuriko down. Skullstorm can be an absolute final decree for those decks. So I do like Skullstorm. I think it's gonna stay in for now. And finally, Dead Drop. Just sacrifice 2 creatures. Yes, it costs Sam, but you can delve into it. Pretty good card. So on top of these, obviously we do have Silent Blade Oni. We also have Inkai, Servant of Oni. So we do have a few more cards that come with a high CMC, but these are the top ones. Obviously, Dead Drop being the most expensive. Yes, I could probably change a few things around. I'm kind of in the process of doing that, but for now, this is how we're running it. The cards that I left out because they're also on the verge of being cut is Gush. Gush, it's a great card, don't get me wrong. It's super good in Constructed, Pauper, Legacy, but the problem with Gush here is that we're not necessarily going to have 2 islands in play to use its secondary alternate cost. So I feel like it kind of weighs the deck down. It's great to draw 2 more cards, but we just draw a lot with Yuriko anyway, and she's going to come down very quick, so Gush is probably not the best to have in the deck. Postmortem Lunge is another one that I'm not quite sure of. It's great to be able to bring something back from the graveyard. Particularly, my idea was to bring back cheap creatures that would gain haste, and then we can get a ninja down unblocked. Maybe stays, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure on that. Fairy Imposter, definitely, I would say definitely not my card, even though you get a 2/1 flyer. You don't always want to return a creature to your hand. In fact, a lot of the times you actually don't, and I don't want that to be an absolute ability. Plus, we already have Quickling to do that, so Fairy Imposter is definitely no. And then finally we got Search for Ascanta, which I'm kind of on the verge with. It's a proxy for now. It does give us an extra land when we flip it, and it does give us a little bit of card selection. We really want to flip it to be able to use the second ability, but it is a little bit cost heavy, and we already have quite a lot of deck manipulation. I'm kind of on the verge on this. There's probably a couple of other things like Tassa would be maybe better than Search for Ascanta. They're not 100% comparable, obviously. Tassa allows you to scry at the beginning of your turn. You can also make somebody unblockable for 2, so yeah, we might do a switcheroo there. And then finally, just looking at the lands, I'm not 100% sure. I think I have 33 lands in here, which worked out perfectly. Even though we have quite a few cards that cost a lot, most of the cards we have alternate ways to pay for. So this isn't an extremely land-heavy deck. So far, it worked out pretty okay, I suppose, but I definitely need to do more testing with it. Anyway, we got Command Tower, obviously. Exotic Orchard, another one that can be pretty much used unpunished. Even if our opponent's not using our colors, it could still be pretty good, I suppose. Going on to the dual lands, we got Dimmer Aqueduct. Yes, we do have to pick a land back up, but it's fine. We got the Dark Water Catacombs, which are the old filter lands. They're definitely not as good as the newer type filter lands, but still is a must have in this deck. Feeding Pools, we can cycle it away if we don't want a Creeping Tar Pit, an absolute must. Not is it only a manland, but it's an unblockable manland, so really good. Choked Estuary, if we have a swamp or a land, we can play it active. Underground River, just a really good dual land. Sunken Hollow, again, if we have 2 or more basic lands, it comes down active. River of Tears, because I can't afford an underground sea. If I could afford an underground sea, I wouldn't have River of Tears in here, but I can't. We got Dismal Backwater, just to gain 1 life. Watery Grave, obviously. Dark Slick Shores. Sunken Ruins. Another proxy. I can't actually afford a fancy filter land, but I thought if I'm printing it out, I might as well have this. Temple of the Sea, just for the scry ability. And these are pretty much the dual lands. We also run 1, 2, 3 fetch lands. And we run a Talaria West, because Talaria West can fetch any land that you want. Yes, it's a bit slow, but it's pretty cool that you can get any land for the cost of 3 mana, which is obviously expensive. But if you desperately need that dual land, or if you desperately need a few of the other cards I'm going to show you in a second, then you definitely want to have Talaria West. We also have Ash Barrens, just to do some basic plane cycling. I included Ash Barrens and not Evolving Wilds, because Ash Barrens you can still tap for a colorless mana, and a lot of the times that's just enough, whereas Evolving Wilds you can't tap for mana, you must sacrifice it to get something out of it. And then we have the Bad Fetch, Bad River. It's called a Bad Fetch because it comes down tapped, but it's still pretty good to have in a commander deck. Of course, we have Reliquary Tower because we do tend to draw quite a lot of cards with this deck, so we don't really want to pitch them away. Hall of the Bandit Lord, because we want sometimes just to play our ninjas for their full cost, but we want them to come down with haste, or if you want a 1-drop creature to come down, or 2-drop creature even to come down with haste, then we can also use Hall of the Bandit Lord. Halimar Death, just to give us a one-off top deck manipulation. Minimo is obviously there to allow us to untap our commander or untap one of our other legendaries in case we wish to do so. And we have 4 islands and 3 swamps to round up this particular deck. So again, as I said, I had a few games in with this deck. I've played against an Arcanist deck, which was just unbeatable because they have so many extremely cheap defenders for 0 cost, 1 cost, and of course as soon as Arcanist comes down, and plus because they have green, obviously they can ramp really easily to bring down Arcanist as well. I didn't have any sweepers. This is why I mentioned Damnation. I want to run at least a Damnation, if nothing else, to ensure that I can sweep if I really need to. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter for Yuriko. You can still Commander Ninjutsu her back for 2. So yeah, the Arcanist deck has definitely overpowered me. Then I played against Elves. Elves was easy to beat. We were just much quicker than they were. Then there was another game that I am not 100% sure what it was. I think it was also like a green creaturey, but I don't think it was elves. There was another deck, but we did deal with that quite easily. Again, cheap, efficient creatures, but they were just not. They couldn't really do anything against our unblockables, and we got enough deck manipulation to put all the expensive cards on top of our deck, and constantly dealing damage with Yuriko just annihilates them. And then finally, my bane, the fucking Gitrog monster deck. Well, Gitrog monster deck was just one turn too quick. And actually, I did do quite a few. I think I've done 2 mistakes in that game that just basically I gave away the victory. I could have beaten the Gitrog monster deck just the turn before it went off, but I couldn't. Misplayed. Um, but you know, at the end of the day, it's all fun. It's not a competitive a scene where I would ever show up. Also, I must mention that all these games were one-on-one commander games, so unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to try the deck out in proper 4-player mode. That is obviously the most exciting part, but I did have a good chance to test it out, and obviously I've already picked out about 5-6 cars that I think will need to be replaced. So replacements I'm thinking about, obviously getting in a Thassa would be pretty good, just for allowing me to be able to do more reliable on blocking abilities. Definitely a Damnation. I'm also thinking put in a Boomerang, because there really is Cryptic Command and what's the other one? Cryptic Command and Rite of Undoing are the only 2 cards that allow me to bounce something back. And I think there were 2 or 3 games out of the 4 when I got caught out by just not being able to bounce. A Ghostly Prison was one, and I think the other one was that blue card from Mercadian Masks, which also taxes all your attacking creatures. So because I had to pay so much mana to be able to attack him with, that really seriously slowed me down. And if I could just have had one big turn, it was against Arcanist, by the way. If I could have had one turn where I could have just sent all my attackers out, I probably would have gotten the game, because I had enough top deck manipulation again to get there. But this is what the game is like. I'm probably gonna get that blue card as well if I can remember his name. I do apologize for. It's got Karn on the illustration as well. It's got Karn, and it's a blue card from Mercadian Masks. Makes you spend 2 colorless for each attacker. It's basically Ghostly Prison, but in blue, I think. So yeah, but I think it's a really, really amazing deck. I would highly recommend it for anybody who's enjoying a toolbox type deck and also loves ninjas. To switch about unblockables with ninjas is just really cool, in my opinion. They really come to shine now with this commander, and it's great to see that. It's great to see the deck work. It's very, very, very fun to play with. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. I'm building a new modern deck as well, so there will be a deck profile coming on that in the near future. But please do stay tuned, because I am now back from the holiday. There will be more videos coming up. And yeah, that's it. Saiyan signing out. Peace, YouTube.